Welcome back to another episode of Kicking It with Coach Red, where we bring you all the news, stories, takes, and opinions about your favorite teams from the Pacific North, fresh from the good to the bad to the Christmas time Mariners.
The jingle bells Mariners, baby.
Okay, there it is. There it is. The Jingle Jangle Balls Mariners.
They're
Jingling, jangling all the way down Christmas Lane because it is time to talk about our wish lists to Santa on this episode of Kicking It with Coach Red. But before we do that, why don't I tell you a little bit about us? If you're looking for a guy that's been a very good boy this year, minded my P's and Q's, and I'm ready to get everything on my wish list from the man at the North Pole himself. And if you're looking for a guy like that, you're looking for a guy like me, your boy, Coach Red. You can find me on X at the real Coach Red, on Instagram at the real underscore Coach Red, TikTok at the real Coach Red. Also find the show over on YouTube. Search Kicking It with Coach Red. Like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications, and leave a comment or two. And if you're looking for a guy who might have been a little naughty boy this year, he might have been on the naughty list, but he's looking to turn that around as we
sure.
work our way up. The elf on the shelf has been reporting good things to the man in white
Sure,
beard
dude.
and red robe. So if you're looking for a guy like that who's on the uptick, you're looking for a guy like Cain.
Yes, I'm Kane. You can find me over on Twitter, Kane2406. TikTok, Kane0624. Also follow the show's socials over on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Red Pod. Follow us. Do it, freaking do it.
Before you jump into something, we're going to start with a little bit of Mariners news and or reporting. But before we do that, I don't think we've really touched about it on the pod. Dave Sims officially signed on to be the voice of the Yankees radio side. And Dave Sims was never my favorite Mariners announcer. I can't appreciate some of the calls that he made. A lot of it I thought was overly repetitive and um, ex- unabashed exuberance on things that weren't happening. Like, get out of there. That ball's belted. And it's a lazy fly ball to the left fielder. But I do wish him the best. And this is a guy that's an East Coast guy. He's been in the business forever. And this is a dream job for any announcer being
Yep.
able to call Yankees. And I wish him nothing but the best. I did have enjoyable moments, but I guess he could pack up all those dumb hats and fedoras and bring on over to New York, baby.
Sure, sure.
Uh,
Yeah, it's great that he got the job. You know, I am also in the boat with you. He was not my favorite. The reporter and announcers for this year is going to be Angie Men taking the booth a lot more, and oh boy, is that going to be fun. Since it's a wish list, give me hyphen in the booth.
dude, shut up, dude. We're not even to the wish list. We're just talking about this. And chill out, bro. All right. What do you want to talk about on
All
some
right,
reporting out on the interwebs?
this just the most egregious uh trade talks or reported talks of a potential trade with the Phillies for Alec Boehm. I mean, they want either Logan Gilbert or George Kirby for Alec Boehm. Excuse me? What does that even mean? That, like, how horrendous of an offer to even think of throwing that out there. Like, that's so disrespectful to George Kirby and Logan Gilbert at the same time. That is ridiculous. And there's no other report about any other players being added to this. It'd just be a straight up, or probably they would be asking for Logan or George and a top prospect.
I mean, I feel like if those guys were in a talk, and if we're talking about third baseman, there's like two guys that would elicit that type of return, especially when you see the landscape of Major League Baseball right now and how teams are starved for quality starting pitching. And these guys are both younger, they're both all stars, each made an all-star game. They're usually in, like this last year, I believe they were both in top 10 in Cy Young voting. I think Logan clocked in at 5, and George last year was a top 10 guy, not last year, but the year prior, and still had decent numbers. I think there's only two guys that those guys even get included, and these two guys are not on the table. And it's J Ram and Rafael Devers, right? Those are
Right.
the type of guys where that caliber of player would be included. And that's not happening for Bohm. I think that if you're looking to shed some salary and also get something else in return, I think Luis Castillo would make sense. And I think that you would still get more because of the value and war that you get out of those is higher than you get out of Bohm, who started off hot, had a tweak, did not play well down the stretch, got benched during the playoffs. Like, you can't be asking. I guess if you shoot for the moon, you'll still land among the stars if you're the
Right.
Phillies, but
Like out of the Juan Soto sweepstake. Let's see what team we can gut.
get stuffed.
Like that is the most heinous trade talk I've ever seen. I mean, the return you get is not given. You've seen how hitters hit at T-Mobile Park. It's not like, oh, you know, he was hitting at the what do they call it? The bank. And I mean, that's just different there, right?
Yeah.
Mariners fans aren't gonna be that supportive of what, has like he's been horrendous. He's been booed off the field.
I
His
think we're
fielding
going.
has gotten
I think
better.
a lot of that was due to his defense. I think Perry Hill could work some wonders with him.
Of
He's a
course,
guy that
right?
doesn't strike out a ton, but he's coming off a career year, and we've seen the Mariners go after some of those guys where the recent success doesn't usually meet what they've done in the past, and usually you see a
Right.
regression to the norm. So obviously, yes, the Phillies would be smart because they probably want to make a run at Bregman and be able to justify those dollars going there. And you've got to open that spot up. But in the same breath, your asking price, I know there's not a ton of quality third basemen out and available right now, but when you really look
But
at
I'm
the
also
landscape
not
of
gonna go
baseball,
trade.
how many great third basemen are there? There's only a handful. Like, a lot of
Right.
teams get by with average or below average third base play, especially with the stick. So
Right. And now it's like to me, like Alec Boehm is average. When they made their World Series run, yeah, he had some moments, right? But he's not Bryce Harper. He's not Kyle Schwarber, right? No, if we're trading somebody of George or Logan's caliber, it's for a dude who's gonna mash. Like,
and I know that we watch them week in, week out, and I know that when you look at these probably from an outsider's perspective, not really knowing the Mariners super well, you've heard their names most likely, but you like was I guess I wasn't familiar with your game, right?
hey,
They're not household names, but they are young, controllable starters with ace upside,
yeah,
and both of them have performed as an ace. But you're not getting a young club controlled ace. Like, look at what Corbin Burns got, who had 1 year left. Get out of here. Like, this
mhm,
is not happening.
yeah,
Not
exactly,
happening.
exactly.
All right.
I just wanted to touch on that because it baffled me so much that that was even proposed.
Kane, I do need one editing note here for your list of four things to Santa. I need you to flip 3 and 4.
Okay.
So, like, the Geno stuff needs to go 3, if you will. You can pick up
Yeah.
what I'm putting down.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
But since you have been a better boy, and
Sure.
have been working your way. The elf on the shelf, he gave me a little nod. We'll let you go first on what your first wish list item is to Santa Claus.
All right. My number one wish list item is Roki Sasaki. It opens up honestly a lot more options to what this team can do. It then allows you to potentially offload Luis Castillo in the 21 that he's going to be making this year.
23.
Sure. And gives you a little bit more cap room to potentially go after other players, right?
Because
But
Sasaki's not going to be a big dollar amount guy because
no,
of the
it's
posting.
yeah, and he's basically making league minimum for X amount of years until he
I
can get
think
his
it's
first
like max of like a 5 mil posting fee.
right. And so Mariners also have the highest international signing
They have a good
money.
track record. They've done it with Kawasaki, Ichiro,
Right. And so that's also a big thing
Yusei Kikuchi.
is all the Japanese players that have played for the Mariners and the connections that they still have with Ichiro for you know he is a legend in Japan, and I think that would be a very good transition to America, having Ichiro more in the clubhouse, being around him, blah blah blah. The dude is just nasty, right? We all saw him on display in the World Baseball Classic 2 years ago. He was the ace of that staff, and they had Shohei Ohtani. Um, Roki Sasaki, I believe, is 23, 24, 25, around there. The kid has unbelievable stuff. His splitter is absolutely nasty. His fastball is off the charts. Lots of swings and misses. We've seen Japanese pitchers transition well to the league. And the Mariners have a fantastic pitching staff to kind of make him to that next step, right? We've
It's a
seen it
soft
with,
landing spot for him when it comes to
right.
the room he'd be going into.
And reports are that they are linked. Who knows how much, right? But he has also come out and said that he will go to a smaller market team. He wants to be in the right place, and Seattle's a really good spot for that to happen, especially with how this team is shaped right now. You just saw Yoshinobu Yamamoto go and help the Dodgers win a World Series, right? By signing with them last signing period. And even though he was hurt, the dude was nasty when he was on the mound. And he pitched amazing in the World Series. So you go and get these guys, and Roki Sasaki is the Cy Young winner almost every year over there because he's that gross, right? Remember when Jakram was winning them left and right, it seemed? It it's that type of stuff. And I think the Mariners could really use this and the
Well,
cap flexibility that you could possibly do with him there.
and the Mariners are near the top in international pool money as well. I believe they're
Yes.
top 10. So it shouldn't be an issue with allocating funds to go after him.
Right. All right, Coach Red. What is your number one on your wish list?
Um, this one was a little bit on the fly because you wanted to do four and I had three locked, cocked, and ready to rock. But this one, we've talked about the Mariners and we want them to spend more money. So maybe we get creative in a way that the organization can make more money
Okay.
and turn that around into sales. So I want a collaboration to happen with Jerry DePoto and Sailor Jerry's rum. We're going to call it Special Mariners Edition Trader Jerry's Rum. And you sell it with a hot buttered rum mix just in time for the holidays to put it all underneath your tree for all you diehard Mariners fans. You buy some rum, maybe buy a lot of it because you might be drinking a lot during the year. Stock that stuff up and you get like the face of Jerry DePoto on there. Boom, gets you a little bit more revenue outside in some creative ways, right? Let's get weird.
Okay, I guess I like it.
I don't love Sailor Jerry's rum, but I might buy it if Jerry DePoto is involved with it. And right, like release it right when the winter meetings start next week.
Sure.
Trader Jerry's. he's now in stock.
Oh, that's funny.
It's gonna be a little, probably a little bit late to the party. I don't know if that one's gonna be able to manifest its way at all.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so.
But here's for hoping. All right, Kane. What's the second thing on your wish list?
This one pains me a lot. Uh, but I really wish from Santa Claus that they can find a way to not make a trade sucked off of Mitch Haniger. Um, is there a world where that happens? Possibly, but is that the reality? Probably not. Mitch Haniger is handcuffing us with that 15.5 million. Uh, he's not going to play. It's
Very
just
much.
if a handful of bats throughout the year. Um, you have four outfielders right now in Robles, Julio, Randy, and Luke Rayleigh.
I put Luke
And
Rayleigh more in the first baseman bucket right now,
right, right, but
especially with how the team's constructed. He's
right,
definitely.
and whoever's on their bench, they're gonna have a better fourth outfielder than Mitch Haniger. Um, he is regressed against hitting against lefties. He's not hitting righties very well either. Yeah, he had some very great moments this year.
Late
Walk
game.
off, right? Late game stuff. Awesome. Was very when he got significant playing time, he cooled down fast. Fielding's not there. He's just older, right? 15.5 million on Mitch Haniger this year just seems like you can't really do what you need to do with this team to move forward, right? And it just hurts because I love Mitch Haniger. There's been so many times where Mitch Haniger has been the best player on the team, and just he's a shell of himself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it just hurts.
It hurts because, yeah, like you were saying, he was kind of the face of the Mariners, especially when they were making that push to get back in the postseason. He was the veteran leadership voice. Kind of gave you a lot of vibes like Felix, going through. And then you saw Felix's regression at the end, and it was painful to see, especially with how well he played throughout his career for the Mariners. And you're kind of seeing that a little bit with Mitch Haniger right now. And it's an unfortunate time that we're at, but I think that everyone would agree with you that being able to unload that contract, even if you don't get a valuable piece back without having to attach valuable capital along with that, I think is the key part that you brought up.
Yeah. Do I think it's going to happen? No. It's what team is going to take a guy who's not going to play. Like on anybody's team, he's not going to go play in AAA, right? He's a big leaguer, so it's just it's tough. And he's not going to give up 15.5 million. He's just
I
not.
mean, I wish that there was a young team that kind of needed that fourth outfielder slash DH piece, that they needed a strong voice in the locker room, because I think you have that with Mitch. If you're looking at teams per se like the Nationals, who will have a lot of disposable income at their disposal if McCutchen decides to hang it up, the Pirates, I think, could be a good spot for him to land as well. They've done things like bringing McCutchen back, going after like Rowdy Tellis as well in the past, that I think lends them to having veteran type players around the young core
Yeah,
that they have.
yeah. All right, Coach. What is your second on your wish list?
I know that you want to get
Or
rid of Mitch Haniger, but
yes,
I want to talk about reunions, because I would love to see at the first base position. We've talked about it. They're in talks with Justin Turner. They're in talks with Carlos Santana to potentially come in and be that person at first base. That's the type of reunion that I would like to see. Both extremely well regarded across the league in the clubhouse. We saw what both of them have done. You saw the team this year with Justin Turner and conjunction Edgar Martinez simplifying things, grinding out at bats a little bit more down the stretch. And then you saw the explosion of Julio his rookie year in tandem with Carlos Santana, right? Those those things I think will help the team. Are they both older? Yes. Are they going to be as effective as they were in the past? No. Are they going to be as powerful as they've been in the past? No. But especially the Carlos Santana, you do get the guy won a gold glove this year, and you do get some power. And then I'd still do like what you get with grinding out at bats with Justin Turner in this scenario, especially if you go the Turner route, you're going to see Luke Rayleigh a lot more at first base, which we've talked about in the past. And I think that if they do bring Turner in, that Rayleigh comes to spring training with a first baseman's glove only and works with Perry Hill sun up to sundown to really dial in that defense. Um, those guys. Plus, I've talked about it in the past too. I'd love Paul Sewald to come back and be a leverage type arm in this bullpen, being a guy that has had big time success, was a big trade piece. When you look at your key piece, Josh Rojas, of that deal no longer being on the team, don't know really what we're going to see or what the future holds for Dominic Canzone. Ryan Bliss is going to have a key part. I would love to bring Paul Sewald back into the fold, be the voice, be the veteran leader in that bullpen, because that's one thing the bullpen didn't really have this year. You had
Right.
talent, but you didn't have that veteran type guy that's had high success. Yes, you have veterans like Taylor Saucedo, Trent Thornton, who have been at other places and experienced things. But when you look at Paul Sewald, who kind of pulled himself up from the minor league pile that he was in to establish himself as a closer slash setup guy for the Mariners and ultimately turn into a closer for a deep playoff run for the Diamondbacks. A little bit of regression last year, a little bit of health stuff, but I think that he can be a valuable piece to this bullpen, even if he isn't as effective as he was his last go around. I think that he could easily supplant what you get out of Trent Thornton and be that type of guy that reinvigorates that bullpen a little bit when you get the reintroduction of Matt Brash when
Yes.
we're sitting there when we what we saw this year with Munoz and getting a healthy Gregory Santos, like that's a big three-headed monster, but they are
Mhm.
all relatively young, right?
Yes.
Paul Sewald is the guy I think that can elevate that bullpen, not just with his play, but with the leadership capabilities. And that's kind of if we're going to lose Mitch Haniger, and even if we don't, being able to bring in leaders that this team has really circled the wagons around, if you will, I think would be good. And I don't want to be too nostalgic, right? Because it's not like we're a team that hired a manager with no previous coaching experience and we're riding off 95 vibes. I mean, we wouldn't do anything for nostalgia's sake, right? Come on. What are we talking
Sure.
about? That wouldn't happen.
Sure.
That wouldn't happen. All right, Kane, what do you got for your third?
I just wish we have good vibes this year, man. All year, even 10 games up, there was no vibes, right? You got to that 10 game lead mostly without JP. So there's one of your vibe guys. He was sidelined. He's struggling all year. So the vibes weren't there. You don't have Gino Suarez anymore. Um, when Victor Robles got there, that was just like your ultimate vibe guy.
Randy
Um,
Rosarena. Boom, uptick in the vibes. Justin Turner, uptick in the vibes.
Right. Like, let's get a whole year of vibes going, man. Because look what happened the year prior, right? Or when we made the postseason, right? 2 years ago. Um, the vibes were immaculate. They were there. They were electric every single game. They kept in it. They battled to the postseason. And then they gritted it out with the Toronto. That was a vibe game. And then George went what 8 shutout against
The
Houston.
Stros in the 16 inning, 18 inning just mammo game.
Yeah, I mean the vibes were immaculate that year, and you just need to get those vibes back because I think like if you have vibes there, Julio's gonna play a little bit better.
Oh,
It's just what's happened, right?
100%.
So give me vibes from day one. to the end of the year, and I will be a happy man. Coach Red, what's your number three?
I want to increase my own vibes in watching the games. And with the departure of Dave Sims, that Goldsmith should be in the booth for every televised game. No ifs, ands, buts about it. Last year, you still saw time missed by Blowers. Not sure with what he's had going on health wise, whether he's going to be able to continue. So if I'm looking for my perfect pairing, you kind of brought it up earlier and we're trying to steal my thunder. So I shot it down. Ryan Roland Smith, the high thing,
Yes.
having those two in the booth. There was a couple of times where they were both in the booth last year. And what I love about them playing off one another is the level of intellect that Goldsmith brings to the game, and also the kind of obscure things that he brings to the game to keep the broadcast interesting and fun. I think you see a lot of that out of Ryan Nolan Smith too. This is a guy that was a starter and a reliever, comes from Australia. He's a guy that MLB Network has put on their WBC coverage. He's a guy that I think believe MLB Network picked up his podcast. This is a guy that's well respected in the industry. And having a pitcher in the booth, I think gives you a little tweak from what we saw from Blowers, right? And I love how insightful he is and also how obscure he can be. We can have one inning where these two are going to be dialed in and just nailing everything and talking about how the innings unfolding, what the pitcher's doing, what the hitters are doing, and stay dialed in. In the next inning, they could be talking about didgeridoos, boomerangs, and about Babe Ruth's third cousin twice removed, all in the same inning. You never know what you're going to get, right?
It's
And
always fun.
it's so great. And I, Goldsmith is one of my favorite guys on his ability to sound genuine while going from mundane calling the game, if you will, kind of the level to 100%. And it feels completely genuine each time. Right. And he can ratchet it up as the moments are bringing themselves up higher and higher to the precipice. And it always feels heartfelt and genuine. And
Mhm.
I've even when Ryan Roland Smith was on the pregame and postgame, the insight that he's able to bring as a pitcher. This is a guy who's been around a multitude of people, being an international type player and getting that perspective as well. He just they both resonate with me, and that
Yes.
would be my ideal pairing if we can get those as your locked and loaded two announcers day in day out. It would be
Yeah,
amazing for what they do on the broadcast side.
I agree. I agree. Because there were multiple times where, as you said, this moments, right? And right at the crescendo, Dave said, which is like Justin Turner's first home run as a Mariner.
Grand slam.
Right. And it's, oh, there you go.
Yeah.
That's all we got.
I understand that the Mariners are up big. I was actually at that game and I saw it live. So that was fun. So I didn't get to hear any of it. But I guarantee that even though the Mariners were building a huge lead, this was a huge inning that you might not have gotten a 10 out of Goldsmith, but you would have got an 8.5 because of the moment for him belting his first home run, with that being a grand slam in his first home game with the
Yes.
Mariners. Like having that build up, that's like a 7.5 to an 8.5. But
Right.
with Dave Sims, that was about a 3 for him,
Yeah,
maybe even a
exactly.
2.
Exactly.
All right, we'll go to your fourth wish list item.
All right. And this could be on most Mariners fans' wish list.
Win the World Series. Boom, nailed
I'm
it.
not going that far, right? I'm not gonna put all my eggs in one basket, but just make it back to the postseason, right? You've had all this promise and all this deceitfulness, and you keep telling us, oh, payroll's getting increased, just to turn around and be like, well, it's not. We're only giving you like $1 million, like just make it to the postseason. Do whatever you really have to do. I want to see this team back in October. I would love to go to a game. at T-Mobile Park in the postseason, that vibe would be crazy. And it's just what the fans deserve, right? We've been mediocre for so long. We got that sweet little taste, and they battled their asses off in those two series. And for all this hard work that you see, like Cal putting in, these pitchers putting in, get us back to the postseason. Make the right moves. You're wasting the talent on this team. This is the best our team has really like been in years, right? We had good years with Seager and Haniger. Then you had a
Yes,
lot of
agreed.
not
No.
you also had a lot of not good years.
Mhm.
And this team is so good. This pitching staff in Cal Raleigh, just the complete command and control and dominance that they bring week in and week out. It's can't be wasted like this. Make it back to the postseason this year, and let's see what we can do. Coach Red, what's your number four?
My number four is not as electric as yours, but it does play off of making the postseason. And I think we know that the Mariners are not going to go out and spend a lot of money. There's going to be a lot on Jerry DePoto's plate on his ability to get creative, him and Justin Hollander to get creative to help this team out. And I believe Josh Rojas, if he were still going to be on the team, was slated to make like 5.6 or $5.8 million. I have a guy that we can go and get in a trade that's not Alex Bone, that's not Nico Horner, that's not any of those bigger name type guys that get floated around. This is a guy that's going to be a lower prospect haul. He is on the last year of a 2-year deal. I think he's clocking in at about 7 mil a year. And this is a guy that was traded last, like in season last year, batted over 260, had 8 homers on the season, clocked in with about 45 ish RBIs, had a strikeout percentage of about 16% across 400 plate appearances. This is a guy that I've longed for the Mariners to get due to his position versatility, but I do think that he slots in very well at third base. And that is IKF Isaiah Kiner Falefa with the Pirates. They have Key Brian Hayes on that team as well. I'd also take him, but he signed to more money, and I think he's more of a longer term type guy. He signed a 10-year, $70 million deal. I already looked at it. So when you look at Isaiah kind of Faleva, he's not necessarily going to be the highest walk type guy, but having him kind of at the back end of your power hitters per se as a higher on base guy, or batting in the 8 hole as a guy that's getting on and helping turn that lineup over, I think is very key. And you saw that at times with Josh Rojas, right? He had that electric start, fizzled out, but still put together good at bats and still pushed the lineup forward at times down the stretch. I think that Isaiah kind of for Falefa does this more often for you. You taking him off the plate. This is a guy that's caught in the big leagues, played second base, played shortstop, played third base. So if you need to give JP a day off and you don't want to play Dylan Moore there because he's getting a lot of extra play time, this is a guy that can move around the infield a little bit too. It gives you that positional versatility that the Mariners have coveted in years past. And it's been a shock to me why Jerry has never went after this guy. This guy has a career 262 batting average in today's MLB. That's phenomenal. Does he give you a lot of pop? No, he doesn't. Does he give you above average play at third base? I think that's his best defensive position,
I
right?
mean, he's a Gold Glove defender. I
Yeah,
mean, there's not a lot that gets by. When he
like
played for Texas, he was so annoying to play against because anything you hit at him, he gobbled that crap up. Sorry, I was gonna
like
swear.
this is a Mariners type move, right? This is the move that you go make right now because it gives you a bridge. Because okay, let's say towards the end of the year or the start of next year, Cole Young's ready to man second base. All right, then Dylan Moore moves over to third base. Guess who's probably a year behind him? Cole Emerson, that is going to profile as a third baseman in the bigs. So not only do you help this team out this year, you don't handcuff or block any of your top prospects that are within a year or 2 years from the bigs at key positions within the infield. Right. This keeps that door open. Dylan Moore still gets playing time. Brian Bliss and his blissful speed get playing time. I think that you can say that IKF is an upgrade over Josh Rojas in almost any aspect of his entire career. It's a veteran guy that's played for Texas, he's played for the Yankees, he's played for Toronto, and he's played for the Pirates. So he's seen the ups and downs that you could see in Major League Baseball. I think this is a guy that could become a cult hero for the Mariners down the stretch. And in this year, you're it's not the biggest investment, right? It's not a ton of money. I think it's like
Right?
7 to 8 mil for a quality third baseman, a guy that can suit up every single day. I think that this really is the move for the Mariners to make and can help push them into playoff contention.
I agree. I
I
agree.
didn't think
I
I was
like
going to
that.
get that fired up. I was like, you've got all these things like make the playoffs. And I'm like, okay, well, this is a good segue to get into IKF, but I didn't know I was going to get so excited about it. I've
I
always
mean,
liked,
I
I've
like
always
it.
liked it.
I like it because, as you said, the positional versatility, right? Heck, if Mitch Garver can't suit up, right? IKF, get behind the dish.
Exactly. He can
Austin
do it.
Shenton, you're playing third that day.
You can do it.
Right. Um, but yeah, he's always been like this pesky defender, kind of like Andleton
And
Simmons,
he's a
right?
pesky hitter.
Yeah, and he's had some big moments, especially when he was playing for the Yankees. He kind of played nutty in those postseason run that he got traded there for. The guy just has the grit, like you said. He's 29. He's a year younger or two than Josh Rojas. And as you said, every aspect is better. Josh Rojas was amazing in the field this year. But, you know, IKF is just better.
Yeah. And Perry Hill's back. So no matter who's in the infield, you feel good about that. Also, I don't think we talked about some of the Mariners' different things that they are bringing to the table. So Manny Acta is going to bench coach. That means Christopher Negron moves over to third base. You've got Eric Young Jr. is going to be taking over at first base. Both these guys are former MLB guys, and they're younger when you really look in the grand scheme of coaching. Like I'm excited to see them excited being base coaches, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you go and get your co your co hitting coach because Edgar's still going to serve in that capacity, not full time, but he will be at basically every home game and
Hitting
limited road
director
trips.
is what his
Yeah,
title is.
but he's still going to be heavily involved. And you
Mm.
get Atlanta's guy that was relieved after the year.
Kevin
That's a team
Seisler.
that has brought a lot of good hitters. And you can also say, well, yeah, they've had a lot of good talent, but it's not like Ozzy Albies was lighting it up. He was kind of a revelation once he hit the team, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a testament to what he could do. I like his ability to say, I've watched a couple interviews where he's saying, I want people to be aggressive. And some of what I saw from the Mariners last year and what I've heard about their approach, hunting a certain pitch in a certain area, that doesn't make sense to me. You be aggressive in the zone. I love Edgar's mentality of staying within yourself, not trying to do too much. And I think that those two will play very well off each other. And I know that we have to be hopeful for the hitting coach, right? We can't see the amount of strikeouts that we've seen the last couple of years, and it just always seems to get worse. And that's why IKF, who runs at 16%, which is a lot lower most Mariners, I'll take it, right? I'll take it.
Yeah. Yeah. I do like some of the coaching moves. They just got to do a little more. Just got to do a little more.
Yeah, just like you listeners can do a little bit more on listening, one, following on social media, two, and maybe you can find your way onto the nice list as well. And if you want to tell us that you're ready to go on the nice list, you can find us over on social media. You can find me, your boy Coach Red, on X at the real Coach Red. Also on Instagram at the real underscore Coach Red, and TikTok at the real Coach Red. You can also find the show over on YouTube. Search Kicking It with Coach Red. Like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications, leave a comment or two. Kane, where you at?
Find me over on Twitter at Kane2406, TikTok Kane0624. Also follow the show's socials over on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Red Pod. False, false, false. Do it, freaking do it.
And as always, stay fresh.
Stay fresh, peeps.
Peace.